Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 27th day of March, 2026. My name is Alexis Jeffers, and of course, once you're hearing my voice, then you know you're listening to Von Radio 860 AM, 93.7 FM. And of course, persons can follow this show on YouTube and also on Facebook, those social media platforms. So whatever means you can find, please do so, and let's get going this afternoon. We're here for just about an hour, and so I'll get going and see how many different things I can impart at this point in time. And of course, it is always my pleasure coming here on a Friday afternoon to spend my lunch hour with you from 1 to 2 p.m. And as we normally start the show, of course, we greet all of our listeners here on the island of Nevis, especially those up there in the St. James area. That is the constituency that I grew up in, the constituency that I still love, and the constituency in which I still live. And so I want to say good afternoon to the whole of the parish of St. James. And while I'm up there, let me say good afternoon to my friend there, Baby Perkins. Baby or Violet Baby Perkins. She tell me she listen every Friday afternoon, and for that I am very happy for that, baby, and I hope you're doing well this afternoon, and I continue to pray and hope that you'll continue to be with us and to, go through all of the necessary challenges that are there, yes, but continue to hold God near to you and continue to ask Him to lift you up and to ease some of the burden at this time. I also want to say good afternoon to Hugh and Mabel Jeffers. I thought I heard they were here, but something tells me that they have gone back to Canada. If they have, I want to say sorry I miss you this time around. But if you're listening in Canada, I wish both of you well. Hopefully all is well, I should say, with both of you at this time. And I pray also for God's blessings upon you. Going out of St. James a little bit, but down into St. Martin. But this is someone who is from St. James, from Butler's area. A cousin of mine down there by the name of Evan Jeffers. Evan, good afternoon to you. It's always a pleasure, having a conversation with you. And I say I will surprise you this afternoon and just mention your name. Evan is someone when I get on the phone, we can talk for hours, Good afternoon to you, Evan. And I will say, while I'm there in St. Martin, let me say good afternoon to the whole of St. Martin. I can't call everybody's name, so I'm giving a general, greetings to everyone down there who are listening to Von Radio, whether on the French side or the Dutch side, or whether you're just visiting St. Martin, but you happen to be tuned into Von Radio. I say good afternoon to you. So let me just finish up Nevis now then and say good afternoon to all of the constituencies or parishes here. Then we go over to St. Kitts and say good afternoon to the whole of St. Kitts, Sabre, Statia, St. Bart's, and of course I will jump over St. Martin because I just greeted the folks in St. Martin and say to the US and British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, coming back east and south of us, Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, going down to Martinique, St. Lucia, all the way down south to the countries that are south of us, way south of us, Trinidad and Tobago, and also Guyana, where we have a lot of nationals from those parts here living among us and working here as well. So at least we are taking care of them for you, and they are taking care of the island of Nevis with us, to make sure that we can continue to keep Nevis nice. Yeah? And when you get a chance, if you're listening, come on up to Nevis to visit your family and friends to see what Nevis is like. Because Nevis, as I always say, is the closest thing to paradise and the nearest thing to heaven. However you want to work that out, please do, but I know it translates into one of the nicest places here on this earth. Okay, so that's it for greetings at this time. I want to move on and say we normally would express condolences to the folks who are in the bereaved column, and I want to start with someone who we knew very well and who was a major fixture in what we do in our political party, the Concerned Citizens Movement. Her name is Charlene Huggins. She would have passed away the early hours of Sunday last. That would have been the 22nd of March. And so we would have lost Charlene. She was ill for some time. And of course, we certainly will miss Charlene. She was one who we could have called on for advice. We could have called on to do something for our party and her party. As a matter of fact, I recall many a times when we are about to start our political meetings, we will call on Charlene to impart or to render the opening prayer, because that is something we do as a party. Everything that we do, we invite God's presence into what we are doing. And so she was the prayer lady, so to speak. We call on her almost every night once we were actively involved in a campaign season. And so Charlene would be missed in that regard. And she was also a member of the women's arm of the party. In terms of her profession, though, she moved from Nevis, went to Canada, and then when she came back, she would have worked at the Nevis Solid Waste Authority for some time, and then she would have moved on to the University of the Americas up there in Potworks, and I believe she was the one who was responsible for housing at the MUA, and so she would have been someone you can call jack of all trade and master of many. And so she would have done her tour of duty. She's no longer with us, and we certainly will miss Charlene. So I want to extend my profound sympathies to her family members, including her brother, Clayton Huggins, and her sister, Beverly Huggins, and all other family members. And so we would listen up. I believe, though, I did hear that the funeral service is on the 7th of April. That is what, next week? Well, week after next, yeah. I think it's a Tuesday, but we'll hear the official announcement accordingly here on Von Radio when the time comes. But that is the date that I believe we are working towards. And so if that is the date, I want us to keep that in mind, so that at least we can go out as a community to pay our last respects to Charlene and be there for the family as well. So may her soul rest in peace and rise in glory, as we always say. So that is Charlene Huggins, wonderful lady, and she will be missed, of course. Indeed, there's also another person who would have passed away in the community over there in St. James, this time in the Libert Hill area, Joycelyn Jeffers Washington. That is the mother of Monique Washington. Those of you who are not familiar with Monique Washington per se, you would know her from her exploits in the Calypso arena. And she has 3 sons who are normally competing in the junior Calypso shows as well. And Monique, her Calypso name is what? Lady Hammond. So those of you who know her by Lady Hammond and not so much Monique, well, there you go. Her mama has passed away, and I want to express my sympathies to Monique. And of course, Joyce C, or Joycelyn, she was affectionately called Joyce C anyway, was the sister of Pastor Eric Maynard as well. So when you see Pastor Maynard, you can express your sympathies to him also, because he too would have lost a loved one and would be in the bereaved column at this time. And anyone else who would have lost a loved one and coping with the grief and the challenges that come along with losing a loved one, I want to say from all of us here at Von Radio, including myself, sincere condolences on the passing of your loved one. And of course, as I always say, if there are difficulties you're facing, then lean on each other as family members, but also you can turn to the Word of God, where you'll find comfort and so forth, so that you can get through these difficult and, I must say, tumultuous time, because losing someone is so final. There's a finality about losing someone from this earth, yeah? There's always the discussion of life after, so we leave that. But the bottom line is, losing someone is never an easy thing. Yeah, okay. So we'll move along. And of course, while we're losing persons are being born, persons are celebrating. And that is the complexity of life. We can have different things happening at the same time. And so there are persons who are celebrating today, and I want to wish everyone who are celebrating a happy birthday. If you're celebrating a major event, accomplishment, I want to say to you, best wishes in your celebration. Of course, in terms of birthday celebrations, I know that my friend over there in Combermere, Scarborough area, Gladys Pepper France, is celebrating today. Happy birthday to you, Gladys. And you know, well, Gladys is someone will tell you from the start of the year, my birthday is on the 27th of March. So it means that if you forget that, it means that you're either willful or you didn't take note of what Gladys was saying. But Gladys, have been saying it for some time. Mark you, my birthday is on the 27th of March. So but Gladys, I didn't forget. And I haven't forgotten I also. And I want to express best wishes to you. Enjoy the day, but give God thanks for another year and ask him for as many more as he possibly can provide. But I'll catch up with you accordingly, Gladys? So enjoy the rest of your day. I don't know how old you are, but you know, the walking that you do constantly is good for you. So continue walking and you'll continue to look young, like a spring chicken, yeah? Okay, so then we move on from there. As a matter of fact, my good friend as well up there in Fountain, Elvina Webb, is celebrating today as well. So, Mrs. Webb, I am saying good afternoon to you from these microphones at Von Radio. These are powerful microphones. So, you know, this is going far and wide because the listenership is throughout the entire globe. So, persons are hearing me at this time, and they will also perhaps call you later or after the show or during the show to wish you a happy birthday. Well, I am doing so now, and I wish you many, many more years of celebration as well. You're still looking good for your age, and I want you to do whatever you've been doing for the past amount of years. I want you to continue to do so, yeah? And then I'll catch up with you soon as well. And then up in Canada, I met, I believe for the first time, I knew of her, but I met her when she was here a few months ago, or sometime last year. Ina Paul, she's celebrating today. She's the sister of, you always hear me talk about Ursula Daniel or Skipper Daniel. That's her sister. And, well, older sister, I must say too. She's celebrating today. So, Ina, you go ahead and enjoy your birthday and do likewise. Ask for as many more years from the Heavenly Father that he can provide. And I wish you well throughout the years to come. And then, of course, tomorrow, my good friend Adara Cozier is celebrating tomorrow. And I wish you a happy birthday tomorrow. This is birthday greetings in advance for you, Dara. God's blessings be with you tomorrow and beyond. And anyone else who's celebrating tomorrow, I believe Midge Morton is celebrating tomorrow as well, from what I can recall. I remember knowing that her birthday is on the 28th of March. That being the case, happy birthday in advance, Midge. And then next Tuesday, this is a good friend of mine as well from there in Cotton Ground, Denzel Webb. We used to call him Quack when we played cricket. He was a good leg spin bowler. I always, you know, tell him that I used to hit him out of the park, but he said that was not true. Maybe he's right, but in my mind, I recall hitting him out of the park a couple of times. But he was a very, very good bowler, leg spin bowler, left arm leg spin bowler, that is. So, Denzel, enjoy your day when it comes on Tuesday, and I probably may catch up with you before then to also tell you in person, I hope, yeah? But God be with you, and may his blessings continue to flow in your life and all of the other celebrants. May God's blessings continue to flow in your life as well. Okay, moving right along. The weather outside is very hot and nice. I love it. Typical Caribbean, but more so Nevis weather. We like when it gets a little chilly in the evening, you know, because that kind of make us feel like we're up north, you know. But we experience our north here in Nevis from time to time. Not in recent days though, because it has gotten hot in recent times. But it is what we love to experience, no doubt about that. And then of course all visitors who come, they come not wanting to have any adverse weather conditions. They want typical Nevision weather. And so whoever are here at this time, they're experiencing some good weather right now. And of course I'll touch on the events that are taking place on the island at this time a bit later, but let me move right along. Now, by way of public service announcement, I will do this public announcement every Friday when I come here. And so it is important that I do it because this is an important event. This is our Whit Monday medical fundraiser, which comes up on Monday, the 25th of May. And it starts at 6 a.m. and goes down to 11 p.m. in the evening. I have been talking about that for some time, and I want to just remind the general public that this event has been ongoing for the past 5 years. And so we want to invite the whole of Nevis to this particular event because we are seeking to raise funds for persons who are having challenges in meeting their medical financial needs. And so we are saying that we have a pack lineup for you already, and we had one other artist who was added just last night in a conversation, and I just want to say that Delison Roper, X-Man, would have said to me that he wants to come to perform, and who are we to deny him the opportunity? I tell him, sure. As soon as he said it, when those words left his lips to my ears, I said, no problem, man, come on and perform. So along with X-Man will be, of course, Itabulous, the Destiny Band, DJ Zimba, DJ Lalbo, DJ Wet Dot, and of course Grandmasters Band and the New Vibes Band. So that's a packed lineup for that day. We're going all out to make sure that we can entertain the patrons who are going to come to buy breakfast in the morning, say from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., then brunch from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, lunch from 12 noon down to 4 p.m., and then after that we have a dinner menu that will mix up everything that is there. You call it dinner, you buy everything. If you want to buy breakfast items for dinner, it's up to you, whatever you desire. But we are selling food and drinks all day throughout the time we're going to be there. So that is Whit Monday, the 25th of May. And I'll leave that for now and move right along. I want to, at this point in time, what is next? Oh, the ongoing expo, agriculture expo down there at the E.T. Willett Park, the Elko Meadow Todito Willett Park, formerly known as Grove Park. That is ongoing. It's a 2-day event, started yesterday. Today is the second day. Yesterday was huge, and today would be even bigger. Well, yesterday was big, today is going to be huge. Let's put it that way, use those adjectives here. But anyway, the support has been tremendous for thus far, and I want to encourage all of you who are listening. If you're here on the island, you're home, and you're seeking to do something this afternoon, just put on your clothes and come on into Grove Park or E.T. Willett Park and bring some money with you so that you can patronize the vendors who are there. There'll be some music there this evening. I believe they go down until about 10 p.m. And of course, the staff at the Department of Agriculture and Ministry of Agriculture are looking forward to serving you when you come there, along with all of the vendors, the crop farmers, the livestock farmers, the fisher folks, agro processors, and also there are some persons there with craft and different items that they would make locally that they're selling there. Of course, some of the businesses here on the island that provide equipment and implement, for example, for the agricultural sector, they are there as well. TDC, Horsfords, and if I start calling all of them, I probably would miss out some, but most of the businesses that cater to the agricultural sector and also manufacturing sector are also there. So they would want you to come by and see what they're doing. A lot of the items that you'll see there are being produced right here in Nevis, here on Long Point and various parts of the island. You know, we have a commercial belt over here and a manufacturing belt over here on Long Point Road. So quite a number of those businesses are down there showing what they have on display. That is what they usually would produce here on the island of Nevis. Galvanized and windows and the likes, they're all there. So go on down and see and make some connection as well and get some ideas to what you can get from these companies, and of course perhaps pricing as well too. But the linkage is absolutely important, so go down and be a part of that. Okay, but before I leave the expo though, I was pleased yesterday when I look at the layout on the E.T. Willett Park. I had 10 years as the Minister of Agriculture, and of course when I became the Minister of Agriculture we were over there on the Villa grounds, and the decision was made one after the 2019 I believe event, or 2021 thereabout. I told the PS then, the permanent secretary then, he was Mr. Huey Sargent. I told him, listen, that's enough with the Villa grounds. We're moving into into a new environment. We're going to take up the whole of Grove Park. Yeah, we're going to lay it out in such a way where we'll have more stalls, more exhibits, and more of everything because of the size and magnitude of the event. We would have outgrown Prospect, we would have outgrown the Villa, and so it was a decision that I took that we are moving forward, we're moving into a larger space. And so Grove Park down there is nicely laid out, accommodating everyone, and people are moving around freely, not no jam up and shoulder to shoulder, that kind of thing. It is really, really an important decision that was made, and one that has certainly paid off. And so I want to commend all who are down there now, all of the folks in the ministry and department who continue to work, including the minister, the PS, the directors, and all who continue to work, and not forgetting all of the staff from the lowest of low to the highest of high within those ministries and departments that continue to work and making sure that this activity continue to shine or be a beacon on the hill for the island of Nevis and the agricultural sector. So that is what is happening there. I invite one and all to come. And as I get off of this particular topic, I also recall, based on the decision made here in Nevis, when I was the minister responsible for agriculture at the federal level, all of the years prior to me becoming the minister, they had this agriculture open there on Sinkits up in the Lagreet area, up where the agriculture station is. And so I would have told myself this is not adequate enough for such an event. We went down instead to the Newtown playing field, and that threw open all possibilities, and we would have seen a large crowd of people who would have shown up there for those two days down on Sinkits. And so after that they would have moved up to I think you call up there in the Kim Collins Highway, Needmus, and that is where they are now. And so the move was dictated back in 2021 thereabout, and of course since then they've moved on to a larger environment. But the fact that we would have come out of Lagreet is one that I take credit for, and I thought that was the best thing to do, and it has certainly paid off in many ways because more people are patronizing these events. So I wish both activities, including the one here in Nevis, the one in St. Kitts, well, moving forward, because as the sector continue to grow and as farmers continue to buy into the policies and the programs that are put on by these ministries, then of course they will be able to produce more. And we are hoping that the department and ministries, both in Nevis and St. Kitts, will continue to lend the support to the farmers, because they are the major stakeholders in this sector, and without them the sector is nothing, because the government cannot produce everything that needs to be produced anyway. And so we do need the farmers, all of the farmers, crop farmers, livestock and the likes, fisher folks, everyone, agro-processors, all of them are needed to grow the sector and to make sure that we are meeting the necessary targets that have been set. Yeah? Okay, so let me move off of that and into something else. Last week I spoke about the Leeward under 19 selectees who would have left Nevis and went off to Antigua to be a part of a training camp there. A selection of 15 cricketers was made, and it was meant to then shave off one to come down to a squad of 14. And I did say and predict last Friday that I believe all 7 from Nevis will make the team, the final 14. And lo and behold, that is the case. That is indeed the case. So we have from Nevis, let me remind you that of course we had Keris Farrell, Aidan Williams, Kamani France, Ryan Marsham, and of course someone else, Deshaun James. Someone else is missing now. Let's see, that's Nicholas Hero. Yeah, so 7 players from Nevis, but of course 6 of them are from the Wendell Austin Wallace Cricket Academy. All 7 have made the final 14, and I congratulate all of them. I congratulate Micey Wendell Wallace, that is Micey, he's affectionately called, for his his service to the community over there, and his belief in these young players and spending time with them. That is important, spending time with the young fellas to teach them the right technique and so forth. So Wendell Wallace, in my opinion, is one of the better coaches here on the island of Nevis. The results from this particular squad suggest that to me, and so I want to congratulate you, Micey. I want to congratulate the parents of these youngsters who would have also bought into what is being taught and what the vision of Micey is, and so they lend their support from time to time. Oh, I say time to time, but maybe I should say at all times, because when we call upon the parents, they're always there. And so all 6 from the academy, along with Aidan Williams, who is the 7th player, are all in the 14. Now, there have been a selection made for a match tomorrow, the team that was selected for tomorrow. And the only name I don't see in that 13 that has been selected for tomorrow's match is Nicholas Hero. I went on to the Cricket West Indies website, and they would have put up the team for the Leeward Islands on the 15 team, that is, and also the Windward Islands on the 15 team. And 6 of the Division players are in there, who are Kiris Farrell, Aidan Williams, Demari Prentice. Did I call his name? No, I didn't call his name initially. But Demari Prentice, he's in the 13 for tomorrow, and then Deshaun James, Kamari France, and also Ryan Marsham. Those 6 are definitely in the 14 for tomorrow. So we'll listen up and see what happens after that 50 over match tomorrow. I know, based on what the mother of Deshaun James would have told me on Tuesday night, that Deshaun would have made a 50 in the practice match. He was the only one who got a half century, and Deshaun seemed to be informed, so we'll listen up for good things from Deshaun come tomorrow, once that match is completed. No, tomorrow is what date now? The 28th. No, it's the 29th. Sorry, the 29th. Sunday the 29th. So we'll listen up for that, yeah? Okay, moving right along. What else before I go? Quickly, let's make sure we're covering all of the information that we have here. Okay, if there's something, we'll come back accordingly. But anyway, it's 1:30. Let's get going with something else. Well, in recent times, we're hearing a lot of talk about electoral matters, and we hear from the other side, the opposition. They're now vocal about things that are happening at the electoral office, and everything seems to be election and electoral matters for the other side at this point in time. And you know, it is somewhat, not necessarily surprising, but I would say it is so disingenuous of the opposition to be talking as if they are blaming CCM, pointing fingers at CCM, and it is certainly typical of the NRP as far as I'm concerned anyway. But I want to just go back in time, because we tend to forget in this island what has happened and what has transpired, and we're just concerned about today, what has happened today. But with history have a way of repeating itself, that's one. And there is something about history. There's something about history. There's always things that you can learn and things that you can use as experiences that you can draw on to make sure you don't repeat the same thing again. And so I say that to say this, that all you're hearing from the NRP these days as the opposition in the island of Nevis regarding electoral matters, the electoral office and registration officer and the CCM. Listen, the CCM, first of all, has never transferred anyone from Diet Bay, from St. Paul's in St. Kitts, from Old Road in St. Kitts to no part of Nevis. The CCM has never done so. And so that was done by the other side back in 2011, 2012, thereabout. There was a wholesale transfer of persons from those areas who knew nothing about Nevis. Never been to Nevis in the first place, didn't know where Brown Hill is located, didn't know where Stony Grove is, didn't know where Fountain is. There's a Hanley family, about 7 of them would have been placed in Fountain, out of Old Road. And when I made a call, there's a certain person in Old Road tell me, listen, all of them live right next to me down here in Old Road. I see them every morning coming out their house going to work. But they were placed up in Fountain. The CCM has never, ever taken up persons and brought to Nevis on any list here, right? I would also say that the CCM has never taken anybody's name off the list, the voters list here in Nevis. That was done by the other side back in 2011. Over 200 plus voters were removed from the voters list up here in St. John's. And then they set up some embassies in St. James. People who were 5th and 6th generation claiming that they were citizens through their grandmother who were never born in Nevis were given citizenship. And as far as I'm concerned, right now the interpretation that is being made by the Attorney General's office is no, that was wrong and they're not doing it anymore. But it was done then. We had embassies up there where people who had, well, let me not say no connection, but under the law, under the Constitution, had no right and no business being offered citizenship. And that was happening under the NRP. As a matter of fact, let me say this as well. The CCM has always had free and fair election. And you know, when you have free and fair election in Nevis, CCM has always won. Any free and fair election that is held in Nevis, the concerned citizens movement will always win. So you hear all of this noise creating all kind of havoc out there in the community, and it's meant to be a smoke screen in many ways. But let me say this to you, huh? I had my days and my challenges with the electoral process under the NRP. I had to go to court many a times, and I've said it here before. My good friend Theodore Hobson, Ted Hobson, how are you, Ted? Hope all is well. I used to use Ted Hobson as my lawyer, went before a retired and now deceased judge from Antigua, and he told us in uncertain terms, I didn't come from Antigua to deal with these. We came outside of the courthouse and Ted tell me, Mr. Jeffers, go on out and meet your people and go on, let's fight an election. We're not going to get through inside there in the court. Yeah? But the NRP was piling our names, and the more they pile on, the more I object. The more I object, the more I get turned down. The more I get turned down, the more I go to court. And the more I go to the court, the more I was rejected. So we've had those challenges. I don't see any of that now. The NRP is using this smoke screen, yeah? But the history shows differently. Because, you know, in 2006, CCM would have lost that election in 2006. The interesting thing is that some of the foot soldiers from those days, from that election, will tell you, those days there were no voters ID. Voters ID came into being in 2008 when we had the re-registration or the confirmation of the bogus list that was there. But in 2006, when there were no voters ID, there were operatives in St. Kitts sending them over on the boat, sending persons over on the boat in their 5s and 10s and 20s. And the operative over there would call Nevis and say, sending over 5. Meet them at the pier. And when they were met at the pier, a number was given to them, number 250. So when you walk in the polling station, whether down Methodist Church, whether up there in Grove Park or whether up in Brown Hill, you say my number is 250 or 260 or 210, whatever. I don't know whose name would have matched that number. But the person or those persons would have walked in and said, this is my number. I am voter number 250. And they were given a ballot to vote. So by 2 p.m. over in Brick Hill, a certain operative out there was able to tell me, they tell me Malcolm gone in St. John's, because they had the bubble set up, you know. The bubble was there. And so when you hear the NRP making noise, keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, because when it's all said and done, It's a bubble they're cooking up. They want to blame the CCM, and that's what they do. Cast the blame, cast aspersion, and put your attention in the wrong direction when they got their bubble set. Choppy set, yeah? And so we're not going to be fooled by the NRP, because over the years, all of the difficulties we've had in the electoral process and elections here on Nevis have always come out of the opposition camp. Right out the camp. And so this last election in 2022, I hear them talking about people who would have voted with expired ID. I know for a fact that there are persons who came out of Canada and the United States who didn't come to Nevis since 2013. A voter's ID lasts for 10 years. And if you didn't come here since 2013, but you came for 2011 election, it means that your voter's ID would have expired in 2011. When we canvass our people, the first thing we ask them, do you have a valid ID? A valid ID for Nevis, because that's how you'll vote. You can't bring people on a plane or ask them to come to vote on an expired ID. So when I heard that the situation was that once you have an ID, expired or not, you can vote, I said that is not what we were fighting for. That is not what we expected. But you didn't hear anything from the other side. You didn't hear nothing from the opposition, because they well understood what the situation was then. And perhaps it was to their advantage in many cases. Not fully, because it seemed as though they are very disappointed that they didn't get what they were hoping to get out of the elections. But I would tell you, persons with expired ID was able to go in and vote, and it wasn't the operation, or it wasn't the brainchild of the Concerned Citizens Movement. That's not how we operate. We know what the electoral laws are. We know what IDs. It must be a government issued ID in order for you to vote. A government issued ID from the country of St. Christopher and Nevis. And so persons were able to go in and vote right up the voting fountain with an expired ID, and throughout the whole of Nevis. Expired ID, because somebody made the decision not in favor of the Concerned Citizens Movement. It must have been in favor of someone else. And so you have this situation where it seems as though those in the opposition are now, pouting at the mouth, because you know what? They feel aggrieved because they thought that the bubble was well cooked up and that they should have been in government. They're claiming. But I tell you this much, we're dealing with people. People know what is right and what is wrong, and when people see something that is wrong, they'll always vote against it. And that is why in 2013, when they realized what happened, the people of Nevis came out in the numbers and sent a strong message to the NRP. And that message still continues to resonate up until today. Up until today, that we don't want no shenanigans in our electoral process. The bottom line is, if you're registered to vote, you vote where you're registered. The law is you register where you live. But if an election is called and your name is on the voters list, wherever it is, then you vote where you're registered. But the law is you register where you live. And so we've been encouraging people to go and make the change. Once you leave a particular constituency and go to an next, the onus is on you to go and transfer your name to the constituency in which you now reside. And so if there are challenges out there where the postal carrier, or I don't think they're using bailiff now, but the postal carrier cannot find you where you claim to live. Even the person who object to a certain person, if you have since moved from the address that is on the voters list, because that's the address they'll use. If you object and you have since moved, meaning you're in a constituency where you should be, but your name is still in one that you should not, then you should be objected to as well. But you are objecting to people who have since moved, and because you think that they support CCM, you have gone after them, but your name is no longer where you are, no longer where you should be, but your name is still there. And so that's where the postal carrier have gone to look for you, but you're not there. So who are you to blame? The CCM? You blame yourself, and you blame the dishonesty that you continue to portray and they continue to indulge in. And so stop calling the CCM's name, stop calling the Premier's name, stop calling, well, I say Premier, but I want to say first and foremost the leader of our party's name. Stop calling anybody in our party's name, because we have objected, yes. And as far as I know, the person who would have objected to anyone on that list have received whatever documentation and notice they should receive, because that person is living exactly where she has lived for years and continue to live there, and so the postal carrier would get to that person because she's still living there and he's still living where he should live. So the NRP need to done with the foolishness, eh? They need to be done with their foolishness, because this thing is not sounding good. They've gone on every radio station in the Federation and trying to point fingers at the CCM. But I want to say from these microphones to all out there, cast your mind back to 2011. All of those, what do you call it now, demonstration or marches that we would have had through Charlestown. Thousands of people came out. Why? Because NRP would have trampled on their democracy, their sacred right to vote. NRP don't want people to vote, you know, because they know once people go out to vote, they'll always vote for the Concerned Citizens Movement. And that's why they continue to say and do the things that they do. But I want to say to the people of Nevis, continue to keep your eyes open, continue to keep your ears open, because I think what I must say at this point in time, that is the culture that they have, and it continues to be that way up until today. Whether you change leadership 4 times, 5 times that they have done, it's the same old leadership. Whether people come or go, is the same old thinking and the same old strategies, the same old playbook and the same old everything. So I'm not surprised at what I'm hearing. Anyway, I'm going to leave that and say, well, hey, let us continue to look out for democracy as a people. All of us have a role to play in this, and do not be fooled. Do not be misled. Do not be hoodwinked by the NRP. Just keep your eyes and ears open. Yeah? Okay, let's move right along, because there are a few other things. Oh, before I go on to something else, because I want to say this, yeah? I have said that the NRP and its leadership need to repent and ask the Lord for forgiveness for the sins that they have and atrocities that they have committed against the people of Nevis. And I'm dead serious about that. They need to ask for forgiveness. Because irrespective of what, you must be able to say that I was wrong, and because I was wrong, I'm asking for forgiveness. And if you don't want to start with the people of Nevis, you can start by going to the Lord in prayer, you know. Go down on your knees and pray and ask the Lord for forgiveness. And I always say that you should repeat to yourself as an NRP, if you're in the leadership or you're in whatever capacity in the NRP, repeat 1 John chapter 1 verse 8 and 9. I could send you to the Bible to find it, but I could repeat it for you so that at least you know what I'm talking about. 1 John chapter 1 verse 8 and 9, he says, if we say we have no sins, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. But if we confess our sins, God is faithful and just and will forgive us of our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And so that is 2 verses that the NRP should always repeat to themselves. And of course, if they do that and they say it out loud to the people of Nevis, maybe the people of Nevis will believe you, maybe they'll accept you, maybe they'll warm up to you, whatever the case might be. But you have to start there first. And I'm not trying to get biblical this afternoon, but there are things in the Bible that applies to all of us. That one applies to the NRP. 1 John chapter 1 verse 8 and 9. If we say we have no sins, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us. But if we confess our sins, God is faithful and just and will forgive us of our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. I leave that with the NRP. Let me move on, because there are a couple other things that I wanted to touch on, yeah? And let's see. Oh, last weekend, I went over to St. Kitts. And in my driving around, I happened to pass by this place, Fort Thomas Hotel. That's where the location where the old Fort Thomas Hotel was. And I thought, with all the noise I heard coming out of St. Kitts when the groundbreaking ceremony took place for that project, I think they call it, I forgot now what it's called now, Symbol of Love Project. Something like a Taj Mahal. I don't know, some fancy building. Costs over $30 million or thereabout. But the groundbreaking ceremony took place, I believe, late last year, earlier this year. And there are some operatives in St. Kitts who would have called the radio station over there and said there's no transparency. They said there was lack of transparency. They said that the details about the ownership was not there, and the potential for the destruction of an existing historical site. All of the things that they feel were wrong, they were putting it out there on the airwaves. So I thought the project was not in existence anymore, or it wasn't going to be undertaken by the government over there. Lo and behold, I go down there and I see a lot of work has taken place over there. And lo and behold, there is no talk about that now. And the reason why I bring it up is because that and other projects in St. Kitts, for example, the Basti High School, lots of noise are being made about container of prefabricated material being brought out of Barbados and wherever else. But lots of noise. But the government has proceeded to undertake these projects. Why? Of course, they see these projects as beneficial to the island of St. Kitts. They make noise about the hospital down there, the Smart Hospital or whatever the case might be. But the government is proceeding. But the people who are accustomed to making noise on the airwaves in St. Kitts, on the airwaves here in Nevis about those projects, you don't hear them now. So they have turned their attention to Nevis now, and they are saying all kind of things about the projects that we have planned here. For example, the airport, Destiny project, the geothermal project, all kind of noise you hear. But what really bothers me about this is that these operatives who would call out of St. Kitts and make noise here on the airwaves in Nevis, and so immersed in the projects that the concerned citizens movement would like to execute on the island of Nevis, for those on St. Kitts, they are silent now. For these on Nevis, they don't want them to happen. That is what I have to say. And I say it, and whoever wants to be offended, so be it. But I'm saying to those who are making noise from St. Kitts and joining up with those in Nevis who are on the opposition, obviously they don't want nothing to happen in Nevis, but things are happening in St. Kitts. Those projects are ongoing. And you know why I say that? While I was in St. Kitts as well, I see jumbos, plenty of bags of cement, these jumbos that they use in the mixing of concrete. Lo and behold, I see a news item and a news article that says 8,334 tons of cement was being offloaded, and St. Kitts started last Thursday, and up until, I believe, Monday or Tuesday of this week, they were still offloading. And the information that I saw is that the last time you had a major shipment like that was 3,000 tons 10 years ago. So you had 8,334 tons of cement that was being offloaded over the last weekend for about how many days? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 6 days it took to offload them. And you hear the projects them that are ongoing over there, and you hear the amount of cement, and you hear the amount of work that are going to be happening on St. Kitts. And those who call this radio station and other radio station, I am not going to stop you from calling. But your voice have been heard, and I've heard so many things about polls being done about Destiny project, polls being done about this project and that project on Nevis. But people are immersing themselves in Nevis's affairs. But right there in St. Kitts, look here, tons upon tons of cement landed over there because the projects are going to be ongoing, even though the noise are being made over there. But they've gone silent now because the projects are needed in St. Kitts and they are being executed. And so people are going to get monies in their pocket. Work is there to be done. Equipment operators are going to make money. Everybody going to make money out of them over there. Concrete plant would make money, but nothing for Nevis. Make a whole heap of noise when it comes to Nevis. Nothing must happen in Nevis. Any project for Nevis, try and kill it. But I say to one and all out there, you see the leader that we have, the Honorable Mark Brantley? You see me? See all of those ministers in cabinet? We hear the noise. We hear the noise. And when it's all said and done, when you sift through the noise, you figure out, boy, this is raw politics. Raw politics, but the affairs of the people of Nevis are being cast aside in all this noise. Not by us, by those who are out there making noise. And so, when they made noise about the airport, all kind of things they said. We have pursued and we have continued to pursue the airport, We have one delay, and I'll say what it is this afternoon. And this is meant to just put it out there so that the people of Nevis knows exactly what is happening when it comes to the airport. Because we are pursuing that project. It is a project that the island of Nevis needs and must have. We have always contended that we need our people to come directly to the island of Nevis. The only way you'll grow the island of Nevis is once you have that direct link to Nevis, whether by air, by sea, or whatever means. You must have access to the island of Nevis. And there are persons who have come to Nevis and they complain bitterly that all of this travels all around to get to Nevis. They want to find an easier route to get here. Whether it's by way of their business jet, private jet, whatever the case might be, commercial jet, out of the United States, out of Asia, wherever they're coming from, they want to have easy access to Nevis. Last week, I'm going to come back to the airport now. Last week I had a meeting up there at the airport with some potential developers, which also included Greg Norman. Those of you who follow golf would know at one point Greg Norman was ranked the #1 golf player in the world. He came to Nevis, parked his jet in St. Kitts, took the water taxi over, stayed at the Four Seasons for I think 1 or 2 days, and then they did a tour of Nevis, went to various parts on the island, but I had a meeting up there with them. First question they asked me is, when will the airport project get started and how long it will take? I told them once it gets started, it would take about 18 to 24 months. They said, good. That would give them an idea as to what their plans are and how they could execute if they intend to go ahead. But imagine Greg Norman came to Nevis, couldn't land. The aircraft itself that he came in on could have landed at Van Samry. But of course, if he comes with the passengers that he had and refuel there at Van Samry, then of course the runway would have been too short for him to take off to go to back to Central Florida or wherever he lives. So I say that to say this, that this airport and the extension of that runway is vital to the economic survival and progress of the island of Nevis. And so with all the noise, I hear it. But as we have said before, I'm ignoring the noise and we are continuing. But back to the airport in its entirety. We have done what we have to do in terms of most of the designs are completed. And of course, we should have an update shortly with the final designs. I said most of the designs, there are various components that are completed. But the runway itself, we were waiting until all of the lab work was done, all of the testing was done, so that the final design on the runway can be completed. And that is being done as we speak. But we have secured the financing for the air side of the project. We have secured that. Now we have had the approval of the financing for the land side of the project, which includes the terminal, the new road, the customs building, the fire hall, the tower, enhancement of the tower, and the likes. But even though the Republic of China Taiwan has approved that loan, they are waiting for a guarantee from the federal government. And that approval of that loan was done somewhere around November, December last year. We had that approval for some months now, and we're waiting for that, that guarantee to be had, so that the Republic of China Taiwan can disburse the necessary funds. So I'm calling on those in authority there on St. Kitts. This is an important project which will transform air or the civil aviation here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. If you have a vibrant Van Samry International Airport, a vibrant RLB, two infrastructure that are modern and up to date, then it makes air travel in and out the Federation much safer. Can have a good facility in St. Kitts and then Nevis is pulling you down. That is where we're trying to get from and get to a point where we can say we have two improved infrastructure right here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so if that guarantee is based on debt to GDP ratio or whatever it is, I say to you, and those of you who are listening, and those of you who can do something about it, we can approve a guarantee on our own. You control the sovereign state of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so whatever happens to a guarantee, it has to come from the federal government. And indeed, I'll say to everyone, we pay our bills. The only time loans that were guaranteed by the federal government that were not paid was when the NRP was in government. They refused to pay the Republic of China, Taiwan. They refused to pay the Kuwaiti fund. They refused to pay the folks in Trinidad. They refused to pay local institutions. They refused to pay everybody. All of the debts that were there when we came into government in 2013 were not serviced by the NRP in government. I am saying that the Concerned Citizens Movement would have turned that around. We are paying our bills. As difficult as it is, we understand what it means to maintain a good relationship with your international, regional, and local creditors. And that is what we've always done as a party in government. We are a responsible party. We have responsible leadership. And it came out of our understanding and interaction with the Honorable Van Samry and the Honorable Mark Brantley as the leader of this party. And this administration is doing just the same, making sure that we pay our bills. So I'm asking and I'm pleading for that guarantee to be signed and provided so that we can move ahead with our airport project, so that we can actually do what is necessary to ensure that we're bringing that level of investment to the island of Nevis, and also the level of opportunities that our young people, some are out there in the diaspora training to come back to work at the Van Samry International Airport in whatever capacity, because there are numerous opportunities that will be available to all of our young people. And I say young people because they're the ones we are doing these infrastructural upgrade to accommodate, because they must have something to do in the country of their birth. We see people coming here day after day, week after week, month after month to grab the opportunities here. We want to make sure that our people are getting those opportunities as well. And so this airport is one of those infrastructure. The Destiny project is one that will provide those opportunities as well. And of course, when geothermal comes on stream, all of our technical people, our young men and young women who are seeking to get training in that area will be able to put their skills to work. So there are exciting things that are going to happen here on the island of Nevis. But keep in mind that we in the CCM-led Nevis Island administration have to depend on the federal government for certain guarantees. We appreciate all of the guarantees that we have had before, but this one is an important one. And so we are seeking and waiting and hoping that that is done in the shortest of order so we can move forward with our airport improvement project. Improvement in Nevis is improvement in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is where I'll leave that for now. So that is what I would want to impart regarding our airport. The work is continuing behind the scenes. You may not see it physically, but all of the necessary components are being finalized in terms of their design so that we can move forward in short order once we get that guarantee issued and available to the Republic of China, Taiwan, who are financing the land side of that project. Okay, so that being said, I will leave that there for now. I believe I've covered some grounds today, and so I want to say before I go though, there is no show next Friday because next Friday is Good Friday. Holy Week start on Thursday, and then we go into the Easter weekend, so we won't be here next Friday. And God's willing, we'll try for the following Friday as well. So that's my show for today. It has been a pleasure as always coming here and spending an hour with you. I want to say to all those who go to church, you go to church on a Saturday, go and serve your God. You go on a Sunday, do likewise. Pray for this island, Pray for this station, pray for me, pray for all of us so that God can provide the wisdom needed to ensure that we are pushing forward with the right choices and right decisions here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. May God bless you. Have a safe and productive weekend. Go down to the food fair down there, or the agriculture expo down there at Vance, I nearly say Vance, but the El Comida Willett Park, and enjoy yourself. Be safe. Goodbye. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
With all the power from the tower.